We've won 3 of the 13 trophies we need to complete the Glory Hunter Challenge, but we still have 10 to go with 16 seasons left. Hopefully we'll maximise our time by getting the Villarreal job that we were invited to interview for at the end of last episode. Firstly, they asked me about my inability to speak Spanish. Quisiera tu mandana, por favor. I think I rest my case. Naturally, they're worried I've never managed in Spain before, but if you've been around the channel for a while, you know exactly what I'm going to tell them. Also, if you've been watching my videos for a while and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, this is now the perfect chance to do it. They're also impressed with my trophy haul from Juventus and wonder why I want to move on. But there isn't an option to explain the concept of Glory Hunter, so telling them it's time to take the next step is the best option. And now, we wait. And sure enough, the offer arrived, which of course we accepted. Villarreal finished 7th last season, so we have a shot of winning the Conference League. But the season preview had them in 4th place, so they have underperformed and we might have a shot of winning La Liga this upcoming season. But whilst the first 11 is very good, there's not a lot of quality on the bench. So with our £22 million, we need to work some miracles, like trying to offload Danjuma to Saudi Arabia this summer before he leaves on a free next summer. The day the window opened, we accepted a £31 million bid for him from Al Nassr, and after completion, the board gave us 26 million of that to spend. Our first signing was Sudakov for £17 million from Shakhtar to bolster our midfield, along with Gedson Fernandez on a free transfer after he left Besiktas. And finally, we added Jadon Adai for £31 million from RZ to be our new right winger. And those new additions mean we're now 3rd favourites for the title this season. Our first goal was scored by Alex Baena away at Granada, where Sudakov also got his first assist in a 2-0 win. Our star man though was Alexander Sorloth, who also scored past Girona as we won 3-2. He got himself a brace in a 3-1 win away at Espanyol and scored another 2 in an impressive 4-2 victory over Atletico Madrid. In fact, he'd scored 10 goals in 6 games to put us on top of the pile early doors. But my main focus this season is the Europa Conference League, because we aren't going to have too many chances to win this competition. After winning our qualifying match, if we don't win all 6 of our league phase games, I will be cross. Ben Brereton Diaz helped us to a 3-0 win over Lask from Austria, whilst the regen from Villarreal's academy, Julian Ors, scored in a 5-0 win over Zelina from Slovakia. Konrad Laimer scored in a convincing 3-0 win over Ghent, but somehow Swiss side Servette missed a penalty but managed to hold us to a 0-0 draw. Baena got us back to winning ways with a 5-0 win over Dinamo Minsk from Belarus, and we rounded off the league phase with Ben Brereton Diaz scoring the 5th in a 5-0 win over Albanian side Partizani. That means we finish in 2nd place, with Chelsea and Frankfurt being our closest rivals. So obviously we've done very well there, but we're actually doing even better in La Liga. Now, Real Madrid did beat us 2-1, which I feel is fair enough. We also only drew with Rayo Vallecano as we played 72 minutes with 10 men. That means a draw with Alaves is actually our worst performance of the season, because we've won every single other game up until the winter break, meaning we are 8 points ahead of Barcelona and Real Madrid, as Sorloth already has 21 league goals this season. I really have no idea how we are this good, because none of the players in our starting 11 are better than the players we had at Juventus. Dusan Vlahovic is way better on paper than Sorloth is, Frank Kessie is better than Konrad Laimer, and I'd take Dennis Seven over Philip Jorgensen any day of the week. So yes, we are predicted to finish 3rd in the table this season, but to me, that just suggests that La Liga is very weak compared to Serie A. So if we can take advantage of that and snatch an early La Liga title, that would be perfect. However, I may have spoken too soon, as we lost 1-0 to Barcelona, Granada scored in the 89th minute to pull back a late 1-1 draw, and we almost lost to Real Betis, but we rescued a draw late on in the game. And we won't be winning the Copa del Rey this season, as 2nd division side Albacete become just the 3rd team to beat us this season. However, we did beat Atletico Madrid 2-0 and record a monumental 4-0 win over Real Madrid, to keep ourselves on top of the table by a single point over Barcelona. Back to the Conference League, and we've been drawn against Armenoia from Cyprus in the round of 16. We convincingly won the first leg away from home 3-0, whilst a 2-0 win at home sealed the victory. Udinese in the quarterfinals were a much harder challenge. Despite scoring twice to take the lead in Italy, Udinese pulled one back with 10 minutes to go, before then scoring a 95th minute penalty to draw level on the night. An early goal at our place in the second leg gave us back the lead. But moments later, Udinese levelled the scores once again. But thankfully, with the home crowd behind us, we had just enough about us to overpower the Italians, scoring twice more and winning the tie 5-3 on aggregate. On paper, our semi-final against Danish side Silkeborg was much easier. But in Denmark, we could only draw the match 1-1. But again, the home crowd made a huge difference in the second leg, and we proved to be too strong for the Danes as we raced into a 3-0 lead by the 50th minute. Silkeborg did score twice with 10 minutes to go to make things a little nervy, but we also scored late on to ensure we reached the Conference League final 5-3 on aggregate. We'll take on Chelsea at the end of the season in the final, which we need to win for our Glory Hunter Challenge. Back to the league though, and I think we've run out of steam. Despite picking up some decent wins over good sides, we were slipping up more and more. Timothy Weah, who had left Juventus for Real Sociedad, scored the only goal of the game for them to beat us. We also suffered a 3-2 defeat against Valencia, and the final nail in the coffin was a 1-0 loss to Barcelona, which enabled them to overtake us in the table and win the La Liga title. But second place is still incredible, and maybe with the right additions, we can challenge next season. We're going to miss our second top scorer, Alex Bainer, through injury for the Conference League final. But even if he was in the team, Chelsea's side is still stronger. But I have been downplaying our squad all season, and look what we nearly did in La Liga. So maybe we can go on to win this. We had the first chance of the game from a free kick, which was taken short to wonder kid Joan Anton, who scored an incredible effort from the edge of the area to give us the lead. But Chelsea have solid attacking threats, and not long later, from a free kick of their own, they worked the ball into the box for Nkunku to level the scores. And then just before half time, Ben Brereton Diaz, who was replacing Bainer, got himself injured. But his replacement, Ivan Jaime, had the first chance of the second half, forcing the Chelsea keeper into an acrobatic save. But just before the hour mark, Chelsea had a chance as Cucurella's cross found Nicholas Jackson at the far post, who gave the Blues the lead. Ivan Jaime tried his luck once again, this time from a free kick, and forced a great save out of the keeper. But the game may have just been killed off when Chelsea put another cross into the area that was cleared into the path of Yeremy Pino, who gave Chelsea a third goal. So to react, we made some changes and went more attacking, but with 15 minutes to go, it wasn't looking good. We came close again in the 84th minute as Sudakov's effort went just wide of the mark, but in the end, Keller in goal for Chelsea won them the match. This first season at Villarreal feels very much like our first season at Juventus. We could have won a lot, but we just fell at the final hurdles. Going forwards, we look great, especially with Sorloth's 36 goals in all competitions, 31 of which came in La Liga. So luckily, we have £64 million to spend to improve our defence for next season. But before we get around to doing that, RB Leipzig have offered us a job interview out of nowhere. They've finished in the Bundesliga's top 3 in the last 3 seasons. They also have a younger squad than Villarreal, and it does look better. So I am very tempted, and I've decided to do the interview. Despite them coming to me though, they're concerned I haven't managed in Germany. But I told them, obviously, it was my dream. They then wanted to know if I was happy to work with the director of football. So I lied and told them I was. And then they asked me if £82 million was enough spending money. I told them it was, and that was the interview done. But after all of that, they decided I wasn't the man for the job and went for Thomas Tuchel instead. So thanks a lot. tickling my balls for nothing. Instead, I sold £54 million worth of players, allowing me to seriously strengthen our squad. Notably, we signed Victor Gomez on a free transfer from our old club Juventus. But my favourite signing is Jurgen Yashkuri for £26 million from Anderlecht. I'm expecting a lot of goals from the man from Kosovo. After our spending spree, we have 6 new faces in the starting 11 and we need them to adapt quickly. So I decided to slowly introduce them. And Sorloth scored a brace in our opening day 3-0 win at home against Valencia. But obviously, with so many new players in the team, we did slip up against Zaragoza. But when it worked really well, as we thrashed Granada 5-1 away from home as Yashkuri scored a brace, whereas Ezequiel Gutierrez, a centre mid from Argentina, scored a brace in a 6-0 win over Alaves, with Victor Gomez also on the score sheet. Frustratingly, we did concede late to drop 2 points at Real Madrid, which is the reason we're only 3rd place in the table a third of the way through the season. However, a loss to Sevilla, where Ruben Loftus-Cheek scored the only goal of the game, and a 2-1 defeat at home against Barcelona, coupled with a few draws, pushed us out of the title race. In the Champions League, we'd done well, including drawing against RB Leipzig, who we could have been managing instead. Agonisingly, we finished 9th in the league phase though, meaning we have to go through an extra knockout round. Obviously, given that we've already won this competition with Juventus, I'm not too fussed about winning it. But getting further and further in the competition gives us more money and more reputation to sign better players for the future. So away at Valencia, we stole a 1-0 victory to put us in the driving seat. But at home, we lost 1-0 as Harvey Elliott scored, and after 120 minutes, we were going to penalties, where Sudakov and Ezequiel Gutierrez both missed to knock us out the competition. So that's that, I suppose. However, we have made it to the Copa del Rey semi-finals, and in the first leg at home against Barcelona, we opened up the scoring and then doubled our lead in the second half to win the match 2-0 thanks to Yashkuri beating Allah in a foot race. Then at Camp Nou, Sudakov scored the only goal of the game to beat the Catalans 3-0 on aggregate and reach the final. But before we get to the final, I have noticed the Bayer Leverkusen job is available. They were predicted to finish 3rd place this season, but are currently in 7th. Now, it's going to take a miracle for us to win La Liga or drop enough points to qualify for the Europa League. So if we can get the Bayer Leverkusen job, but delay taking it until after the Copa del Rey final at the very earliest, we may be able to pick up 1 trophy with Villarreal and then move on to Bayer Leverkusen, where I think we're going to have a better shot of winning some more trophies. We have 1 month until the final, so it could work out pretty nicely. 10 days later, Bayer Leverkusen offered me an interview. Naturally, they asked about my lack of German experience, so I told them it was a dream to manage in the country. They then questioned me about my lack of jobs, so I told them it's because I'm so early in my career, and then they asked me if I'm in it for the long haul. Don't slag me off for staying at clubs for a long time, if that's exactly what you want me to do with your club. Then came the crucial question: can I join now or at the end of the season? So diplomatically, I said it would be best if I joined at the end of the season. So fingers crossed we get offered the job. And just 4 days later, the job offer arrived, crucially allowing me to join the team in May. So now we really need to win the Copa del Rey, else our entire stint at Villarreal was a complete waste of time. Valencia are a very beatable team, and 3 minutes in we had the first chance as the ball was played into Joan Anton, but he fired it across the face of goal. Left back Dashner did really well to beat 2 men on the near side, and then find a ball into Benya. Then with some really nice passing, we found Yashkuri in the penalty area, and with a neat bit of dribbling, rounded his defenders and opened up the scoring. But moments later, Valencia got the ball forwards quickly, and in a panic, tracking back, Gedson Fernandez brought down his man, and the referee pointed to the spot. Up stepped Galano, but keeper Milinkovic made a huge save to keep us in front. But the resulting corner was dangerous, leading to not one, but two goal line saves before we cleared the ball to safety. We've been let off there big time. So at the break, we lead 1-0, but only just. Early in the second half, Victor Gomez intercepted the ball and put through Jaden Adai, but his effort went just over the crossbar. Victor Gomez was clearly one of our danger men, pumping balls into the middle and causing havoc. So when the ball was eventually cleared wide left and put back into the middle, Alex Benya was brought down on the edge of the area and the referee gave us a penalty. Adai had a chance to double our lead, but the keeper made a huge save. But crucially, we still have the lead, and we've limited Valencia to 0 shots in the second half, until the 82nd minute, when they came forwards. But lost the ball, allowing for us to counter down the right wing with substitute Ruben, who found a low cross into Ezequiel Gutierrez, who doubled our lead. All we have to do now is hold on for 5 more minutes, and we could have put the game beyond all doubt, but Yashkuri's shot went wide of the mark. But we didn't need a third goal. We won the game 2-0 and lift the Copa del Rey trophy. Our time at Villarreal wasn't a waste, and we can tick off another trophy from our cabinet. To conclude the La Liga season, we had some decent results, but ultimately we were way off the title. For us to beat Barcelona or Real Madrid, it's going to take a perfect season. And we just don't have time to wait for that perfect season, so for me, it makes sense to move on. We will be back in Spain at some point to try and win La Liga, hopefully with Barcelona or Real Madrid. But now we shift our attention to the Bundesliga, where annoyingly Bayer Leverkusen snuck into 4th place. Part of the appeal of signing for Leverkusen was the fact I didn't think they'd qualify for the Champions League. Another issue is we only have £5 million to spend. We're way over our wage budget, and we have no wingers to play the formation that I want to play, which means we might have to play our Season 1 Juventus tactic, which I'm not a huge fan of. I didn't get a screenshot of it because I didn't think I'd need to, but if we'd stayed at Villarreal, we would have had 70 million to spend. But before we can even make transfers, we have the Club World Cup this summer. Interestingly, we won each of our group stage games 4-0, which is pretty good for a team with seemingly few attackers to end up topping the group. Our first signing of summer was Diogo Costa on a free transfer after he left Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia. But as it's mid-tournament, we can't register him to play in the Club World Cup. Hopefully this means we can sell our current keeper Jonas Erbig for some big money, especially as he wasn't good enough to keep a clean sheet against Juventus in the second round of the Club World Cup, as we lost 2-0 and got knocked out. Now this is where things are about to get even more frustrating. Despite having £121 million in the bank, the board are only letting me spend 65% of sales that I make. So that makes buying better players for the team even harder. I did ask the board to bring it up, and they did, but only to 80%. Luckily, that was before we sold Barrero, Erbig, and Palacios for big money, which allowed us to bring £61 million worth of players into the club, including a 33-year-old Jack Grealish, and a transfer-listed Michael Olise for just 9.5 million from Barcelona. But the Englishmen are going to be backups this season. The real stars are 22-year-old Estevao, bought for just 19.75 million pounds from Palmeiras, and 18-year-old Oscar Herrero, who we signed for just 5.5 million from Penarol in Uruguay. These new transfers mean we are predicted to finish second in the table this season, behind Bayern Munich. We started the season with an important 2-1 win over Dortmund. Estevao scoring on his debut in the 93rd minute to win us the game and become a fan favourite. He then opened up the scoring in a 2-1 win over Wolfsburg and made it 3 goals in 3 games as we beat Nuremberg 3-0 to continue our winning start. But it wasn't all winning. We had goalless draws with Frankfurt and Werder Bremen, and even lost 1-0 to Borussia Mönchengladbach as they scored in the 91st minute to defeat us. A third of the way into the season, and we're only in 3rd place, but just a point behind Eintracht Frankfurt. However, we started to lose ground in the title race when Bayern Munich beat us 1-0 away from home. And things only got worse when we suffered a 2-0 defeat away at Borussia Dortmund. But we were able to beat RB Leipzig 3-1 to get our own back on them for rejecting us. And we pulled off another 3-1 win over Frankfurt, which moves us up to second in the table, but 10 points behind Bayern, who have been in incredible Bundesliga form, as well as Champions League form, being the only side to beat us in the league phase, which means we finish in second place in the table, behind Bayern. In the round of 16, we've been drawn against Arsenal, and in London, we won 2-0 thanks to Marcos Leonardo and Esteban scoring the goals. A 2-2 draw in the second leg saw us progress. We came up against Barcelona in the quarterfinals and won 1-0 in Barcelona, before we put on the performance of the season at home to beat the Catalans 3-1 and make it to the semi-finals. I would be excited about this, but we have already won the Champions League. Back to the Bundesliga, and we'd been incredible. We just couldn't stop winning games, and a title push was looking really likely, especially when we played Bayern Munich and ended up beating them 5-3, which felt like a real turning point for us. The issue is, Bayern were also winning pretty much every game, and we ended up losing to RB Leipzig, which means we're now 7 points behind with 3 games to go. Pretty much impossible. Obviously, they'd also knocked us out of the DFB Pokal, meaning we're now only playing for the Champions League. AC Milan await us in the semis. And in Italy, a tight game was won by Odilon Cossonau, who scored in stoppage time in the first half, which means we're 90 minutes away from the final, and Esteban put us closer to it as he opened up the scoring in the second leg. 10 minutes later, thanks to a lucky deflection, we doubled our lead on the night, and just before half-time, the man Marcos Leonardo gave us a third to make sure we win 4-0 on aggregate and reach the final. But Man City are going to be incredibly difficult to beat, especially with our former man Palacios at the heart of their midfield. However, 4 minutes in, Man City made a mess at the back, giving the ball away and allowing Marcos Leonardo to shoot and hit the crossbar. But the ball fell to Herrero and the Uruguayan teenager fired us in front. 5 minutes later though, and Man City were trying to make amends. We just couldn't clear the ball, but luckily Diego Costa was on hand to make a huge save. But they just wouldn't give in. Doku put a ball into Haaland, who got the citizens level, until his effort was disallowed for offside. But if at first you don't succeed, try and try again, and that's exactly what Man City did as Oscar Bob assisted Nico Williams. Man City had a lot of possession in the first half, and I think that made us nervous because when Nico Williams put a ball into the middle, we didn't know how to deal with it, and finally Erling Haaland got his goal. But our man of the match had to be Diogo Costa, as he made another huge save just before the break, meaning we stay a goal behind at half-time. At the start of the second half, I thought we'd equalised. A great run down the right saw the cross met by the head of Herrero, who put his effort just wide. And as I was about to make some changes, Frimpong picked up an injury that forced him off the pitch. Despite everything we tried, we just couldn't find an equaliser, let alone a winner. So Man City claimed their 4th Champions League title, and we finished runners-up in another competition, as we also finished second to Bayern Munich in the league. But remember, we have already won the Champions League with Juventus to tick it off our list in Glory Hunter, so winning a second one would have just been a bonus. The team is already really good, so I think we just need to add some top quality players to the team next season to win the league. Luckily, the Champions League gave us a ton of prize money, but we only have £53 million to spend. I did ask the board to increase our budgets, but they said no to the transfer budget, but thankfully did increase our wage budget slightly, which is nice. But when we did get a bid of £69 million for Ben Seguir from Brentford, we obviously accepted it. I was actually actively trying to sell him, This offer came through an intermediary, so we will owe him some of the transfer money, because I'd already brought in Aubrey Goossens for £27.5 million from Anderlecht to start ahead of Bentancur and Tillman in the attacking midfield. It also allowed us to spend £43 million on Matteo Corti from Atalanta, who may well just be the best striker I've seen in this database. And he was certainly going the right way about proving it, as he scored twice in a 2-1 win over Wolfsburg. He also scored the only goal of the game in a 1-0 win over Stuttgart and a 1-0 win over St. Pauli. So arguably, he was winning his points on his own. However, there was still a few question marks about our team. For example, after taking the lead against Darmstadt, we conceded twice late on to lose the game against the league's surprise package. Schalke also beat us 1-0 away from home, but luckily for us, Bayern also had a poor start to the season for their standards, so we're a point ahead of them with a game in hand. And we managed to extend that lead as we beat Bayern Munich at home 1-0, with Michael Olise scoring the goal. But of course, it was Corti who was our top scorer, keeping us on top of the table as he scored 15 goals in 22 games, even when we did end up losing matches like a 2-1 defeat to Eintracht Frankfurt away from home. This means he's the league's top scorer as we extend our lead to 8 points over Bayern Munich 2/3 of the way through the season, although they now have the game in hand on us. The Champions League has also gone really well, as we won 7 games to once again finish second in the league phase, this time behind Real Madrid. In the round of 16, we came up against Frankfurt, and thanks to what looked like a Herrero goal, but was actually classed as an own goal, we won the first leg 1-0. However, Frankfurt took the lead in the second leg, but we had just enough in the tank to level things up on the night and then take the lead on aggregate before, of course, it was Corti popping up with a late winner on the night to progress 3-1. However, in the quarter-final against Real Madrid, Frimpong was sent off after 20 minutes. 11v11, Madrid are better than us, but 10v11, they destroyed us. Despite the scoreline briefly being 1-1, they scored 3 goals in Madrid to win the first leg 4-1, which makes it almost impossible for us to progress, especially when they score first in the second leg to make it 5-1. There was then 3 goals scored in the final 3 minutes of the game, but 2 of them went Madrid's way, meaning they knock us out of the competition in the most embarrassing way possible. Luckily, in the Bundesliga, we got revenge over Darmstadt as Corti scored a brace to get us back to winning ways. He then scored a hat-trick against Cologne in his best performance of the season to nudge us ever closer to the Bundesliga title. He also opened up the scoring as we beat Borussia Dortmund 3-0 at home, with Marcos Leonardo coming off the bench to also score a goal and remind us he's still actually at the club. But thanks to our great efforts, with 4 games to go, we have an 8-point gap to Bayern Munich, who we play next, away. Win this, and we win the title. The first chance came in the 34th minute when Goossens had a free kick, but it narrowly missed the target. Joao Pedro had a similar attempt at the other end, but also missed the target, which means we're heading to the break 0-0. But disaster struck just before the hour mark as Alphonso Davies delivered a far post corner that was headed home by De Ligt. So we changed our entire attacking 4, in the hope that our subs would provide the goods. And all 4 of them combined. Marcos Leonardo found Jack Grealish, whose cross was dummied by Tillman to allow Olise to strike it home. But they couldn't go on to find a second, meaning we draw the game, keeping Bayern Munich 8 points behind us with 3 games to go. So instead, we have the chance to win the title at home against Werder Bremen. Herrero's corner was punched clear by the keeper, but we won the ball back and played it down the far side of the pitch, pumping in another cross, but this time the header went over the bar. So instead, we tried from the other side, crossing the ball to the far post, where Herrero was there to give us an all-important lead. Then, less than 60 seconds later, we tried a very similar move from the other side, which allowed Aubrey Goossens to double our lead. And before we could even reach the half-hour mark, Castro found Herrero in the penalty area, who danced around the defenders to finish for our third. Then, as we hit the half-hour mark, the game really was done and dusted, as Estevao, who had a very quiet game so far, found Aubrey in the middle, again who scored us another goal. So with an hour still to play, the result was inevitable and we were going to be lifting the Bundesliga title. Although we did give away a stupid goal just before half time. But I'm pretty sure this won't be leading to a Werder Bremen comeback. I'm just joking, don't worry. Tapsoba scored a penalty, and Goossens got his hat-trick from a free kick, meaning we lift the Bundesliga title to win our 5th trophy of the Glory Hunter Challenge, meaning we only need to win the DFB Pokal still in Germany. So it would be handy if we'd made the final of that this season. No, I mean it really would have been handy. Instead, we lost in the 3rd round again. So the question is, do we stick it out at Bayer Leverkusen until we win the DFB Pokal? Or do we do what we did at Villarreal and find another job where we might be able to win a trophy quicker and then come back to Germany later on in our career to win the cup? The truth is, I don't know. So we're going to find out in the next episode. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video when it comes out, as we approach the halfway mark of the Pentagon Challenge and we still have 8 trophies to win.